So we'll begin the webinar right now. Thank you for joining us today, and a very good evening to all the panelists and attendees. I'm Khushi Jhaveri from Kyoto University, and today we are here for the Global Network Project of University of Tokyo India Office. This project aims to attract students primarily from South Asia to encourage them to pursue their further studies in Japan. In today's webinar, we have been joined by several renowned universities in Japan, and each of these universities will give us a 20-minute presentation about the programs offered at undergraduate, graduate, and doctoral levels, followed by a 5-minute Q&A session. Students are free to ask questions to our panelists in the Q&A box and not the chat box. Once again, please make sure that you're asking your questions in the Q&A box. And panelists, please make sure to turn off your video and audio when not presenting. Now I'll be sharing the agenda of today's webinar. I hope my screen is visible. So now I'll be explaining the flow of today's webinar. We'll begin the webinar with a brief introduction by Ms. Sakshi, the Program Assistant of University of Tokyo India Office, followed by a presentation for overview of study and work life in Japan by Ms. Vaishnavi Thakur from the University of Tokyo. Then we'll have a presentation by Kyoto University by Professor Rodney Van Meter from the Faculty of Environment and Information Studies, and Mr. Hideo Daikoku from the Graduate School of Media and Governance. Then we'll have a presentation by Osaka University by Professor Clement, who is specially appointed as the Associate Professor for the Center of Global Initiatives, followed by a presentation by the School of Sciences of University of Tokyo by Ms. Chise Sakuta. And lastly, we'll have a presentation by GST by Mr. Nishikawa, the Advisor for International Relations and Cooperation. Now I'd like to request Ms. Sakshi to commence the webinar with a brief introduction.
Thank you, Ms. Khushi, for the introduction. Namaste and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this webinar, Study and Work in Japan, Session 36. My name is Sakshi Roy, and this program is hosted by the University of Tokyo India Office and brought to you by MEX, the Ministry of Education, Culture, Sports, Science, and Technology in Japan. So first of all, before giving you a brief information about this project office, I would like to thank all of you. It's a great pleasure for us that you have participated in our webinars. Thank you for supporting our online sessions by attending. And I would like to thank all of our expert panelists we have from prestigious Japanese universities. Thank you very much for contributing into this webinar series. So now let me give you a brief introduction about our office. We are the part of Study in Japan Global Network Project in Southwest Asia by MEX, and we provide comprehensive information on Japanese universities. We organize education fairs and seminars throughout India to spread awareness about higher education opportunities in Japan. About our webinar, today we are conducting session 36 of Study and Work in Japan webinar series. And this time, by means of all these webinars, our mission is to introduce Japanese universities to you and to assist you to study and work in Japan. So there will be three different Japanese universities representing in each session: national, public, and private universities. And all the universities will be introducing English-based programs and scholarship opportunities that are offered by them. So there has been approximately 700 plus universities as well as specialized vocation institutions in Japan. And I must tell you that studying abroad in Japan means you'll further your studies in a well-rounded education system. You'll experience a unique new culture, and you'll have the chance to gain more international perspective. So no doubt you learn from the very best in the world and work in some of the most modern labs with great facilities. You can also learn Japanese easily if you live in Japan, and some of the universities have preparatory Japanese language courses for international students who are enrolled in their degree programs. So please scan this QR code to register for our upcoming webinars. It's really a great opportunity for all of you to participate in our webinars. You can directly ask your queries to representatives of each university. However, I know 20 minutes presentation is very short time to understand about the university, But I would like to recommend you all to please note down the contact addresses of each university in case if you have further doubts, you can directly ask them later on. This is the email address of our office. In case if you have any questions, please feel free to contact us. We would be very happy to assist you. Thank you very much for listening to me. I request you all to please stay tuned with us till the end of the session, and please don't forget to register and join us for our next exciting webinar on next Friday. And I ensure that this webinar will be profitable and the next few hours will be enjoyable and fruitful to every one of you. Thank you very much for paying attention. Please enjoy today's session.
Thank you so much, Ms. Sakshi, for the introduction. I'll reshare the agenda slide. Now we have the presentation for overview of study and work life in Japan by Ms. Vaishnavi Thakur from the University of Tokyo.
Thank you, Koshi-san. Let me share my screen. Okay, so hello everyone. Firstly, I wish you all a very happy Diwali. I hope you had a fun one with your loved ones. So let's proceed into study and work in Japan. To give a brief overview about myself, I'm Vaishnavi Thakur, a master's first year student in the Department of Electrical Engineering and Information Systems at the University of Tokyo. I'm from Hyderabad, India. I have completed my bachelor's there. And then I worked for a couple of years and decided to pursue my higher studies in Japan. I'm also a MEC scholarship recipient. So let's see, why did I choose Japan and why do I think Japan is one of the best places to pursue higher education? So as you all know, Japan is an island country, and it is one of the most densely populated and urbanized countries in the world. Despite that, some of the Japanese cities like Osaka and Tokyo have been ranked as the most livable cities and the best student cities in Japan. So now moving to another country puts a lot of stress on students and parents especially. So let's try to address some of the common concerns. The first one is the public transportation. Public transportation is one of the most safest and convenient options. So a student can easily commute from his home or dormitory to the university without any trouble. And next is the food. Like even if you are a vegetarian or a non-vegetarian, you need not worry about how you would survive here in terms of food. Because Japan offers excellent international cuisines, like including Indian, Chinese, Nepali, and so on. So even if you're a vegetarian, you need not worry about it, because I myself tried to be a vegan for a month and I was successful in that. So you need not worry anything about the food. And then next is the health. So more than students, parents must be worried about what if my child falls sick, and who will bear the expenses. So for that, we have an excellent national health insurance policy, which covers almost around 70% of the medical expenses, and the rest 30% will be covered by some of the universities too. So this is about an overview of Japan. Let's look into the education system in Japan. So universities in Japan are classified into three categories: national, public, and private. So one of the common misconceptions we have about education in Japan is the language of instruction. So do we need to know Japanese in order to study here? It's an absolutely no, because there are many English programs in various universities. For example, for the undergraduate and bachelor's program, we have around 90 courses and 40 universities. And for the graduate program, we have around 160 courses and 51 universities. This includes both master's and doctoral programs. And after this, so I would say that it's important to understand the difference between education in Japan and India. So in Japan, the admission process usually lies with the universities. But whereas in India, it's a centralized admission process through entrance exams like GATE, NEET, and JEE. So when you're applying for the universities, just keep it in mind that the whole admission process and the decision for your admit is with the university. And then I need not specially mention about the world-class infrastructure, because Japan offers excellent infrastructure, and also it is unparalleled and one of the best in the world. The university dorms offer a peaceful living environment for a well-balanced academic and personal lifestyle. So this is about the universities in Japan. Let's look into the admission process for the international students. So when we consider the bachelor's program, the usual admission process is through the entrance exams and the SOPs and essays. And for a graduate program, the first step is you need to find your research interest and then contact a prospective professor in your field, and then follow the usual admission process. So I would also like to mention a point here. So most of these students, they try to prefer Western countries over Japan. So then we believe that it is because of the because students are not aware of the wonderful opportunities in Japan. And also when we consider the tuition fees and living expenses between US and Japan, you can see that you yourself can see the difference between the tuition fees, and living expenses are almost the same. But the best thing about Japan is the wonderful scholarships. There are like plenty of n number of scholarships available for the students. Some of the most popular ones include mixed, JASO, and also the other local government scholarships, university and private scholarships too. So besides low tuition fees, students can also take advantage of the scholarships. Now this is about the student life in Japan. So what once you graduate, so will I get a job? So in order to answer this question, let's look at the job prospects here. So the unemployment rate is around 2.4%, which is the lowest among all the other developed nations. And the average salary a student gets once he graduates is around 3.9 million yen. And after a student graduate, he can target many traditional Japanese companies, or he can also consider other global companies that operate in Japan. So besides the job opportunities, you can also, when you're a student, you can also try for part-time job opportunities and internships in these companies too. So let me put an extra emphasis on visa process. Unlike the other developed nations, the transition from the US visa to working visa is a hassle-free in Japan. So the process is very smooth and easy. Right from you graduate, you can directly start working in the companies. And also Japan offers a financially and excellent career in Japan after completing your education. So this is about the student life and job prospects in Japan. Let's look at my student life. So it has been an year since I came here, and this is how my weekends in Japan are. So after the weekdays hustle with the lab activities, you can take out some time for yourself in pursuing your hobbies. You are going to be in one of the most developed nations in the world, and there is nothing you cannot do here. So you can indulge in any kind of sports activity. And if you are a foodie and an outdoor person, Japan is not going to disappoint you. So in order to see what life is like in Japan, I would say that you have to come here and experience it for yourself. So yeah, that's all from my end, and I hope I could meet some of you guys in future here, and wish you all the very best for your admission into the universities here.
Thank you so much, Ms. Vaishnavi, for the insightful presentation. I'm sure students have gotten a gist of the study and work life in Japan. I'll reshare the agenda slide. So now we have the presentation by Kyoto University. So first I'll talk a little about the university. Kyoto University is an eminent private university in Japan, founded by Yukichi Fukuzawa, a notable public figure often found in the 10,000 in Japan. It is a world-class research institution with undergraduate and graduate programs in many disciplines. It has several international partners and is also home to many notable alumni, including CEOs and prime ministers. Now I'd like to request Professor Van Meter and Mr. Daikoku to give us an insight into the university.
Hi, thank you. Yes, we're really happy to be here, and happy Diwali, I suppose, a day late to everyone. I am Professor Rod Van Meter from Keio University's Shonan Fujisawa campus. Hideo, say hi.
I am Hideo, and I am a master's student from Keio SFC.
Let me start my presentation here. Hopefully you can see the screen. Sharing properly, I hope?
Yes, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, good. So we are from the Keio University Shonan Fujisawa campus. And I want to introduce a couple of undergraduate programs to you, although I know that there are at least a few people who are also here who are interested in graduate school. And you can ask us questions about that in the chat, and we'll answer those that way. So just to give you sort of an initial impression of what SFC is like, our campus. SFC is about creating and applying technology to solving society's problems. Technology exists in the context of a society. It's not something that exists in entire isolation. So we invest a lot of our own effort in developing first-rate technologies from around the world, but a lot of work is also done on applying that in the context of society and figuring out how those technologies actually affect the world in a positive way. So one of the examples we'll talk about in a minute, for example, is what happens if you have an autonomous car, a self-driving car. It sounds like a really great technology, but what happens when that car actually gets involved in some sort of accident? Then it becomes actually an issue for society as well, and how we deal with all those issues. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. Keep that kind of problem in your mind. That's the kind of thing we deal with at SFC. All right, so KO has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 major campuses around the Tokyo area. We are from the Shonan Fujisawa campus, which is the southernmost of the major campuses. That's the one there in the middle. And the others are around in the Tokyo area. So KO has, as a whole, 10 undergraduate faculties and 14 graduate schools. In contrast to some other countries, in Japan, in general, when you apply to a university, you apply to a particular faculty or a particular school. So if you're interested in science and technology, you apply to that. If you're interested in law or business, you apply to the appropriate faculty. The two faculties that are at our campus that are offering undergraduate programs in English right now are the Faculty of Policy Management and the Faculty of Environment and Information Studies. And collectively, we call those programs the Giga program. Excuse me. And we'll talk about the interdisciplinary nature of the work that goes on at our campus over the course of the next few minutes. The other one that has a good undergraduate program where the language of instruction is English is the Faculty of Economics, and that's known as the Pearl program. And you can find additional information about that online, but I'm not going to talk about that today. So as was already introduced, KO was founded in 1858 by Yukichi Fukuzawa, who is on the 10,000 yen note, the highest denomination note in Japan at the moment. And here is a view of our campus. So it's nice. It's in a sort of a semi-urban setting. We have sort of a nice green campus as opposed to a lot of the more urban campuses that are more tightly confined. Let's see, I introduced to you already the two undergraduate faculties, but we also have at our campus the graduate school, which is known as the Graduate School of Media and Governance. And that covers a lot of work on technology as well as multimedia and as well as international relations and innovative businesses and things of that nature. So what really makes our program unique at SFC, at the Shonan Fujisawa campus, at most Japanese universities as an undergraduate, you'll spend your first 3 years focusing on classes, and then in your 4th year, you join a professor's research group and then execute some sort of project and create a bachelor's thesis or a bachelor's project around that. At SFC, at the Shonan Fujisawa campus, students join our research group, which we call our Kenkyukai, starting usually in their 2nd year as an undergraduate, sometimes even in their 1st year. I have students show up literally like the first week of classes and say, the reason I came to SFC is I want to be part of your research group. And that's the key. It's a very 21st century way of working. There's a lot of very direct interaction between the faculty and the students. And that's sort of what really drives our educational philosophy at SFC. So we work together with the students. I personally spend more face time with students at SFC than I think most faculty members do at any major universities anywhere in the world. There are 120 or so faculty, and we cover a huge range of topics, but everyone runs this kind of a Kenkyukai, and you'll have the opportunity to join any of those that you would like. So in addition to the ordinary 4-year system, there are actually a couple of other ways to do this. You can graduate in 3.5 years. There is also a combined bachelor's and master's program that you can finish in 4 years, which is very, very difficult. It's very difficult to get into and very difficult to actually complete all of the requirements in 4 years. But if you're one of the top students, it is in fact possible. So let me tell you just a little bit about the research in the few minutes that we really have. You can see sort of 4 different areas outlined here on this particular slide. So I've already introduced the concept of autonomous driving. There's work on robotics. There's work on 3D printing. There is also work on international relations and on education. And in fact, the picture there in the lower right, a couple of our faculty members work with faculty in the Congo, in Western Africa, and they are building a school there. And so architecture students design the building, and students who are interested in education, language, and culture and international relations cooperate. They do the design work during the semester at SFC, and then during the semester breaks, they actually travel to Congo, and they're actually building the school there. So you can see sort of a variety of topics here that we cover broadly, covering everything from digital media and digital design to international strategy, policy design, a lot of work on an area called bioinformatics. So that's part of the advanced biosciences. And one of our professors, Professor Murai, is in fact the person who brought the internet to Japan in the late 1980s and early 1990s. And so he has a research group, which I'm actually part of that larger organization. And there's a lot of work on improving both the technical operation and the political and economic governance of the internet at our campus. All of this leads to sort of this interdisciplinary education, and it's all very focused on projects that are aimed at solving individual problems. So for example, I already introduced the idea of autonomous driving. So there's a lot of technical material, a lot of technical ideas that you have to worry about. You have to worry about image recognition and visual systems, AI-based decision-making systems. You probably want the car connected to the internet. We've done a lot of work on that, stretching back some of it almost 30 years. A lot of work in that kind of area. But then when you, in the unfortunate incident where you actually have some sort of accident, then it affects issues of traffic law and insurance and government policy, and it affects the economy. And ultimately, even issues like road design, excuse me, figure into how we work with autonomous cars. I was in fact talking with one of our faculty members yesterday about how autonomous driving systems can actually have the potential to reduce traffic jams. So there's a lot of this kind of work where technology and society come together. My own research group, and I just put a link to this in the chat just as I was starting, is a group we call Aqua, and it's a research group where we are working on quantum computing, quantum communications, and quantum internet, quantum education, and in fact, quantum community. And so you can see those are some of my students and some of the open source software projects we are working on in that area. I actually met Hideo first when he came and actually joined my research group for a while. He stayed there for a while, and then he shifted to work with one of the other professors. And he's going to tell you a little bit about his work here in just a minute. So we also have collaborative exchange programs, student exchange programs, where you go and you actually take classes at another university for a year, travel abroad. We have exchange programs with 140 some universities. We also have a lot of direct research interaction with those other universities as well. And so even beyond the set of universities that are here, if you work closely with a particular faculty member, you may wind up being sent to a different university abroad to actually work with people there. So one final point, the student life, this will be true at a lot of Japanese universities. There are 500 and some clubs, or what are known as circles, that range from the intercollegiate sports teams to local groups that do music or that do dance or art or what have you. All right, let me hand it over to Hideo. Hideo, I'll drive the slides from here. Just ask me when you want me to change the slide.
Thanks. So, hi everyone, I'm Hideo from the Graduate School of Media and Governance, though I also graduated from SFC's undergraduate program in 2020. To the next slide, please. So while my name is Japanese, I'm actually half Indian. I grew up and was born and raised in Delhi, and I graduated from school in Delhi in 2014. After which I went to California in the US to work as a stage technician at a opera house and a concert hall, and also worked in the music industry for a while there. After that, I decided to go to SFC in 2016 and enrolled in the Faculty of Environment and Information Studies. Graduated in 2020 and continued to do my master's. And now I'm a second-year master's student in the Graduate School of Media and Governance. Next slide, please. So I don't think I need to tell you why Japan. I think you all are here, and that's evident to the fact that Japan is a great place to study. And the reason I came to Japan is actually not to study in Japan, but to go specifically to SFC. You might think I'm biased, but I probably am, but I think SFC is the most unique university in Japan in the way that it operates and in the way that the students at SFC are very, very different, and they're a very specific kind of person who comes to SFC. Next slide, please. So at SFC, as I mentioned, I first joined Van Meter Sensei's research group studying quantum computing, which is very, computer science and, theoretical, mathematics heavy. But I was also able to switch over to a design-based research group where I studied speculative fashion design. And I did incredible projects which combined things like fashion design and sustainable fashion and even AI in the same field. We learned, project-based learning, as Rod mentioned, in the seminar-based system of learning, where everything's sort of led by the student. And the onus comes on you to be able to really drive your research, and you'll go as far as you're willing to go, right? Next slide, please. So right now, I am part of a computational musicology group where I study the difference between North and South Indian music using computational methods, where I analyze audio, but I also use methods used in psychology and sociology to interview musicians and people listening to music and measure their responses. And my research spans fields like AI and psychology, sociology, and also a little bit of neuroscience. So it's a lot of different fields in the same place. And I think one thing that SFC offers is the ability to combine all these fields together, right? If you're solving a problem in the 21st century, you can't just have an understanding of one single thing. You have to view a problem in many different ways in order to solve it holistically, right? And you can get by just studying pure physics or something, but to really solve something in the real world, you have to be able to collaborate with different kinds of people from all walks of life. Next slide, please. So SFC offers a lot of different opportunities to get that exposure, right? To meet people from all over. In 2018, in 2017, I was able to go to Ars Electronica on behalf of Google ATAP and present a project where we embedded a smartphone technology inside a jacket. So you could use your jacket as a controller for your smartphone. And we won a prize for that. And in 2018, I was able to go to an academic conference in Paris, where I presented my own research in front of people much smarter than me. But I got really good feedback, and it also inspired me to get into academia. In 2019, I conducted a workshop in front of experts in Thailand in an international conference for ethnomusicology. And in 2020, I was able to go to, just before the pandemic started, I was able to spend a month as an exchange researcher in Queen Mary University, London, where I studied AI and machine learning technologies in audio processing.
So one thing you'll notice, let me interrupt Hideo for just a second here. You'll notice that he never bothered to mention while presenting these things when he shifted from being an undergraduate student to when he shifted to being a graduate student. Working in the research groups of our professors, of course, as you get older, the demands that are placed on you are higher, and your research is expected to be more sophisticated and more advanced. But the process of learning and the process of being involved in the research at this kind of leading edge level starts almost right away.
Thank you. And that's exactly right. All these things that I've mentioned was while I was an undergraduate, which is something you do not find in other universities. To be able to be considered and taken seriously as a researcher, it starts really early, and I don't feel a difference from when I was an undergraduate to as a graduate, because I've just been doing the same research projects throughout. Thank you. Next slide. So KO is really home to a lot of startups, and also the people who graduate are, work in really big companies. So the people you end up meeting here are really changing the world in Japan, right? I've worked with people, who are doing just really fresh startups in the new economy, like Google, and also just their own startups, as well as big industry giants like Panasonic and Fujitsu and the like. But really, what we're looking at for someone who wants to come to SFC is somebody who's excited about the future, somebody who wants to solve problems, right? And someone who really likes to draw from different sources and work with different kinds of people. That's the kind of person we're looking for. And if you think that's who you are, then I really encourage you to apply to SFC. Van Meterson, would you like to have anything to add to that?
Yes, so in particular, the kinds of outcomes that you get after getting a bachelor's degree at SFC, the graduates from KO as a whole, many of them go into banking and various kinds of international businesses. There are also a lot who go into traditional technology companies like Mitsubishi and Toyota and places like that. But as Hideo said, particularly from SFC, there are a lot that go into the new economy, that go into Google and Rakuten and Cookpad. If you're familiar with Cookpad, it's a big recipe sharing website and social networking system that was founded by graduates from SFC. And we have graduates who go to work for companies in Hollywood, and we have graduates who go to graduate school at MIT and UC San Diego and Stanford and the top universities sort of all around the world, Columbia and various and sundry other places. So there's a whole range of possibilities that are open to you after you graduate. All right, let me take back over and mention a few of the points here. How are we doing? We've got about 90 seconds, I think. This will be just about right. There are some basic statistics there on the Giga program. In order to apply, there is no need for you to come to Japan. There's no face-to-face interview. There is no specific written test for SFC that you have to take in order to apply to the Giga program. Everything is based on a set of documents that you submit via the web and via mail. Some of them have to be submitted via actual postal mail, and they have to arrive by the deadline. So take into account the lag in international mail for dealing with all of this. One thing you do have to submit in lieu of an interview is a 3-minute self-introductory video, which you're expected to provide. There is no specific required minimum for SAT or ACT or IB, but generally speaking, the students who are at KO as a whole are generally in the top 1 to 3% of their graduating high school class. Those in the Giga program are wildly heterogeneous. They come from many different backgrounds. Some of them have what look like very strong scores on those kinds of academic tests, and others don't, but they bring something unique and interesting, some sort of vision for the future to the campus. So we evaluate the individual as a whole, not by looking at any individual number. All right, so the application process, the application materials will be published soon. I'm not sure if they've actually been made available for this year yet or not. The application period, the deadline is in generally late January. I'm not sure if the official date has been actually announced, and then the results will be announced on March 17th. And this is for admission for next September, for September of 2022. For the Giga program, we only accept incoming students in September, although our campus as a whole accepts students both in April and in September. if you have an additional reason for applying directly, it's possible to apply to get in April, but in general, international students join us in September. And with that, here's there are URLs posted in the chat. Here's also a QR code if you would like to have it. And with that, we are looking forward to seeing you all at SFC.
Thank you so much for the comprehensive presentation. I'm from SFC as well, so I certainly believe that SFC will open doors to several opportunities and experiences. So thank you so much once again for the presentation. And there are a couple of questions in the Q&A portal. Could I pick up a few questions?
Yes, please. You're going to read us out a few?
Yeah, sure. Okay. What is the minimum ACT score for Giga program?
So I just answered that. There is no minimum. We're looking at the individual as a whole.
Okay. Does Keio University provide graduate programs on genetics?
Graduate programs in genetics. We have the Keio, SFC is the official host for Keio's Institute for Advanced Biosciences, IAB. And hopefully someone from the office can dig you up a link for that. We do a lot of work in the area of bioinformatics, which is understanding the flow of information inside of living systems. And in particular, that information is carried in genetic, in DNA, and in proteins. And so a lot of what you're dealing with there is how that information gets translated from one form to another, and how it affects the operation of the cell and the organism as a whole. A lot of the actual experimental work takes place in a facility that's in northern Japan, in a town called Tsuruoka, and that's where the IAB actual buildings are. So you can look for Professor Tomita Sensei is right on the verge of retiring, but there are several younger faculty members who work with him, Arakawa Sensei maybe, and a couple of others, and we'll dig up some links for you and put those in the chat.
Are there scholarships available for international students?
Yes, in fact, there are. Maybe I should share my screen again here for just a second. There are some of the links that I noticed were shared early on in the session this evening are to general Japanese government agencies that provide scholarships and loans of different sizes for different purposes. Let's see, scholarships and housing. You've already seen some information about the living costs and whatnot. Here we go. So the Ministry of Science and Technology and Education, MEXT is its current name. It's got a fairly long name. Provides some scholarships, and we have a number of scholars who at our campus who are receiving scholarships from them, particularly for graduate students, top graduate students. We always have a few who are getting those. For the Giga program in particular, we have a couple of scholarships known as the Mentor Mitakai. Mitakai is the name of our alumni association. Excuse me. Excuse me. And one that's named for Masatada Kobayashi, who is one of our graduates who has done very well in the new economy, made himself wealthy that way. He actually funds a scholarship for students specifically for the Giga program. The number of scholarships that are available are not large. The total living costs and the total costs for attending the university, as has already been said, are lower in Japan, but conversely, overall, the financial aid system is not quite as robust and well developed as it is from the United States. But we do have a lot of different sources for funding, and so you can find information from that, both through the URLs that were posted from the government, as well as through the Giga website.
Also, there are several internal and external scholarships provided at most of the Japanese universities, and many international students have the mixed scholarships. So I recommend international students to look into that. Is there mechanical engineering at SFC?
The official Department of Mechanical Engineering is not at our campus, it's at the Science and Technology campus. The Science and Technology campus right now has graduate programs that are available in English, and in fact, that's where I got my own PhD, but the undergraduate programs are currently only in Japanese. However, there are people at our campus whose work involves a certain amount of mechanical engineering. There's people who are working on various technologies for self-driving cars, which I've mentioned a couple of times already, but also drones, for example, and things of that nature. And one of the really interesting, very SFC-like interdisciplinary studies areas is our Professor Ogi is a specialist in biomechanics. And in particular, he works with athletes, including athletes who are members of Japan's Olympic teams and Paralympic teams, and also professional athletes, professional baseball players and people like that, to study the forces and mechanics of how the body actually executes athletic endeavors. So it kind of depends on what your interest and what your flavor is. If you're interested in using mechanical engineering for problems like that, then yes, there are faculty members you can work with at SFC. If you want a more traditional, straight up mechanical engineering degree, get that somewhere else and then come to KO for graduate school.
Thank you so much. There's several questions in the Q&A portal regarding computational music. So it would be great if you could answer them, but as we're running out of time, you could answer these questions when other universities are presenting. Once again, thank you so much for the presentation.
Thank you.
We will stay around and answer questions for a while. Thank you all for your attention.
Thank you so much. Proceed with today's agenda. So now we have a presentation by Osaka University. So Osaka University is a renowned public research university in Japan. It is ranked among the top 3 public universities in Japan and is listed as a top type university in the top global university project. It offers a range of English undergraduate and graduate programs in various fields like chemistry, biology, and humanities. It also provides job counseling services and job opportunities to international students. Now I'd like to request Professor Clement to give us an insight into the university.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Kushi, for the introduction. My name is Clement Akawijaya. I'm Associate Professor at the Center for Global Initiatives. Now, let me share my slides. Can you see my slides?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. All right, so again, thank you for joining us. I will share the information on Osaka University with highlights on several research areas that have been gaining momentum in the university. So Osaka is located in Western Japan. It's the 3rd largest city in Japan with a population of over 2.5 million. And it's the largest city in Western Japan. Is located next to the cultural cities of Japan, Nara and Kyoto, and the fashion city of Japan, Kobe. The roots of Osaka University go back to 2 Edo-era schools, Kaito-Kudo and Tekujuku. Both were in Osaka. In 1931, Osaka Imperial University was established. At that time, the central government did not plan to start another Imperial University in Osaka because there was Kyoto University, which located very close by. However, due to the support by the citizens of Osaka and businesses there, the calls to build comprehensive university in Osaka were finally answered. In 1949, the name of the university was changed to Osaka University, and it remains until now. And in 2007, we merged with the Osaka University of Foreign Studies. And because of this, we have become the only national university with comprehensive school of foreign studies with 25 languages. And this year, we are celebrating our 90th anniversary. We have 3 campuses at the northern area of Osaka Prefecture. All of them are connected by inter-campus shuttle buses, which are free, and public transport, which of course you have to pay for. As one of the best comprehensive research universities in Japan, we provide the world's most advanced education and research opportunities in 11 schools, 16 graduate schools, 25 research institutes, centers, and facilities, 4 libraries, 2 hospitals, and 4 overseas centers. There are more than 23,000 students in Osaka University, and with around 15,000 undergraduate students, we are the largest undergraduate student. We have the largest undergraduate student body among national universities in Japan, and there are more than 88,000 masters and PhD students studying here. Among the 23,000 or so students, there are around 2,600 international students here. Most of them come from Asian countries such as China, South Korea, as well as Southeast Asia and also South Asian countries. As mentioned before, we have 11 undergraduate schools and 16 graduate schools, and these cover disciplines in natural sciences, medicine, dentistry, economics, engineering, IT, humanities, letters, and so on. Okay, so let me introduce some strategic research areas. So although we are a comprehensive research university, we promote multidisciplinary development of research by establishing world-class research hubs that maximize the individuality and strengths of our university. Among the research fields, these 4 research areas have been decided to become the strategic research areas of the university. The first one is immunology and infectious diseases, embodied by 3 research and education centers, IFREC, RIMD, and CIDER. Translational and reverse translational medicine in 3 centers, IFREMED, MTR, and COMIT. Symbiotic intelligence system in SysRec, and quantum information science and quantum biology in QIKB Research Center. I will briefly introduce some of these centers. Right, so IFREC, or the Immunology Frontier Research Center, was established in 2007 through the world premier International Research Center program funded by the government until 2017. And from April 2017, the center has entered a new era with large contracts concluded with several large pharma companies. And we have distinguished researchers shown here, Professor Akira Sakaguchi, Professor Nagata, and Professor Kishimoto, who have won a number of high-profile awards that showcase their outstanding research achievements. The Institute has a mission to combine multiple disciplines in combating diseases by advancing human-centered research, fostering young researchers, and promoting globalization. The Integrated Frontier Research for Medical Science Division is part of the Graduate School of Medicine, and that was established in 2017, so it's quite new, as a cross-disciplinary division to advance the development of regenerative medicine, gene therapy, and bioimaging, and to apply the acquired knowledge and technologies to clinical practice. Professor Cody Nishida, he is the director of the center. He's also a world-known, renowned ophthalmologist, who is also a stem cell researcher, and is currently leading a team that conducts the world's first clinical trial for the transplantation of cornea made from the induced pluripotent stem cells on a patient. Likewise, Professor Yoshiki Sawa, he's also a very prominent scientist, a member of the center, and leading a team that conducts the clinical trial first time for the transplantation of heart cells, also made from iPS cells. Right, the next one is on the symbiotic intelligence systems. So this is an area that combines cognitive science, neuroscience, social sciences, and also human-centered robotics. The research work done in this field focus on the development of soft robots made to interact with humans in a daily basis. The center is led by Professor Ishiguro, and this is he's probably the one of the most renowned robot scientists in Japan. This is the Science Center Director, and also Professor Minoru Asada. He's the president of Japanese Robot Society. He's the administrative director of this center. So not only developing androids for human interaction, but this center also tries to understand humanity by analyzing various aspects in human-robot interaction. Last but not least, the quantum computing research. This is a field that has been growing very rapidly in recent years. And we have established the Center for Quantum Information Science and Quantum Biology. The center is led by Professor Kitagawa, and Professor Fuji, both of which are world-renowned researchers in quantum information science. The center consists of 6 research groups where researchers from multidisciplinary fields work together to solve problems in biology and chemistry through the development and use of quantum computing algorithms. Right, as a university that has close ties with the industry, we have established a comprehensive partnership system in which companies provide research fundings that can be used to conduct basic and applied research within the scope of the fund. And 3 examples are shown here, 2 in the field of immunology and 1 in the field of IT. Right, for in education, the primary language of instruction in Osaka University is Japanese. However, international students have some options to study in English. At the undergraduate level, we have the Human Sciences International Program, which is conducted entirely in English, and the International Program in Science, which is a hybrid program. Okay. At the graduate level, we have more programs offered in English. In total, there are 12 in the Graduate School of Science, Engineering, Engineering Science, and also Information Science and Technology. These are our graduate programs in English. So this covers quite a wide area in science and technology. At this moment, there are 12 programs that probably can be expanding in the future. And each program has its own requirements. And I would strongly suggest that you visit the website of each program to find out more. We also have 4 established exchange programs for students at universities that have exchange agreements with our university. At the moment, I think we only have a university-wide exchange agreement with the Indian Institute of Technology, Hyderabad. If you are a student of that university, you can apply to one of these exchange programs after your details are registered online by the exchange students program staff at your home university. If your university does not have an exchange agreement with us and you want to study Japanese in Osaka, then you don't have to worry because we have this Ssp Program, which is a short-term intensive Japanese language program for everybody, for anyone from a university that don't even have any agreement with us. It has 2 sessions in winter and summer. Okay, so next is about tuition fees. Our tuition fee is flat. This is basically we have the same fee with all national universities in Japan. So the per yearly tuition fee is about this amount, 50,000, no, $5,000. Is it? The enrollment fee is a one-time fee that you pay when you get enrolled here, and the entrance exam is when you taking the exam to get into the program. Okay, so there's a slight difference here for the undergraduate and the graduate level. For the cost of living per month, this is the breakdown of national average for living in Japan. In average, you need about 90,000 to 100,000 yen, depending on your lifestyle, of course. And Osaka is slightly lower than Tokyo. For scholarship, I think it's been explained before. For Osaka University, a lot of international students are getting the max scholarship. And this can be applied through the Japanese embassy in your country or through recommendation by our university. You can also get scholarship from each schools. There are many schools that are offering scholarships after enrollment, or you can also get other scholarship from JASO or from other companies or foundations. You can apply for tuition waiver and receive exemption from paying 50% or 100% of the tuition fee if you need assistance. Dormitories. So we have several dormitories. This is the Osaka University International House located very close to Tanaka campus, and the rent is very cheap here. We also have just finished building 2 large dormitories. The first one here is close to Mino campus. The second one here is closer to the Suita campus. Okay. These are some pictures of the one close to the Suita campus, and this has quite very nice facilities, library, mini library, and living room, shared living room for students to live and study there. Okay, so this is the end of my presentation. I hope it was useful. And if you need more information, please visit our website or follow our official accounts on social media. You can also email us here for any question that you may have. And thank you so much for your attention, and hope we can see each other in Osaka very soon. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Clement, for the very detailed presentation. There are a couple of questions in the Q&A portal. So could I pick up a few questions for you?
Yes, please.
Sure. Is there any program in English at Center of Language and Culture or Center of Public Policy and Governance? I suppose the student is asking for programs in the humanities field or liberal arts.
For undergraduate or graduate level?
The student hasn't specified, but I suppose undergraduate.
So for undergraduate, we only have the two programs that I mentioned before. Okay. The Human Sciences program, and probably the one that is closest to what the student applicant or participant wants to know. But we do not have a language program in English. We do have several non-degree programs, but that's probably not what the student wants to know. Exchange programs, which is only open for university students that have agreements with us.
Thank you. Is a master's in business administration available at Osaka University?
Unfortunately, no. We do not have an MBA in Osaka University.
Is there any undergraduate program in the field of computer sciences or information technology?
There are several schools that offer computer science and computer technology, but they are all in Japanese. We do not have an English program for that.
Is there any what is the minimum GPA for prospective students?
We do not set any minimum GPAs for applying to our master's program, but we do have cutoffs after we receive applications. So this cutoff is normally depends on the quality of the applicants in that year. So it really depends on your luck.
Okay, all right. Could you elaborate on the SAT or ACT requirements?
Different programs have different requirements. I would strongly suggest, I think I posted several links on the chat. So if you go to the chat and you go to the, do you want me to resubmit this one?
You could resend the links, or I suggest all students to please check the links that are shared in the chat box, and please save them. Thank you.
Basically, all the requirements of the standardized tests that you have to take are very different in different programs. Okay.
Is the entrance examination mandatory for international students who want to enroll in the graduate programs?
Most of the time, yes. However, depending on the program also, some of them require you to come to Osaka for sit-out exam. Some of them allow you to do an online or just an interview to get into the program. So again, it really depends on each program. We suggest you to read the admission policy of each program.
Yeah, I recommend students to also check the application guidelines of each program, because the guidelines differ from program to program. So please check the updated application guidelines.
I'm going to share a link. So this is the most comprehensive website that you can find on admission. It has a table of the different programs that we have and a link to the website of that program. And in that website, you can actually find all the requirements for that particular program.
Okay. I'll pick up two more questions. Are there any doctoral programs in biology?
Oh, yes. We have two programs, English programs related to biology. The Special Integrated Science Program, this is in the school, Graduate School of Science. And the Biotechnology English program is in the School of Graduate School of Engineering.
And does Osaka University provide 100% scholarship for all programs or specific programs?
So it really depends on what scholarship you get. If you are lucky enough to get a max scholarship, in Osaka University you will be exempted from paying tuition. So you don't have to pay any tuition. All the scholarship you get from max is for your cost of living. Okay. If you get scholarships from other sources, then you still need to pay tuition. But depending on your situation, you can apply for tuition fee exemption. It may or may not be granted to you, depending on your financial situation, also the amount of scholarship you're getting.
Thank you so much, Professor Clement, for the presentation.
Thank you so much.
And for answering the questions. I'll reshare the agenda slide. So now we have a presentation by the School of Sciences of University of Tokyo. So the University of Tokyo is the first imperial university in Japan, and it is regarded as one of the most prestigious educational institutes internationally. The university is home to several prime ministers, astronauts, and Nobel laureates. Graduates of the university have landed themselves with great job opportunities. Now I'd like to request Ms. Chi Sakuta to give us an insight into the university.
Thank you very much. I'm Chie Sakuta, an international liaison officer for the School of Science at the University of Tokyo. Can you see my slide, I hope? Okay. Happy Diwali, everyone. My presentation will be quite short so that we can have a lot of time for question and answer later on. If there is anything you'd like to ask about any of our programs that I'm going to introduce, please type them in using the Q&A function, not the chat box, but the Q&A for this webinar platform. I've also provided the links to the programs that I'm going to talk about, so you can find those in the chat box. Here we go. The School of Science consists of the Undergraduate Faculty of Science and the Graduate School of Science at the University of Tokyo. Being the oldest university in Japan, the University of Tokyo was founded in 1877, and our School of Science is actually one of its oldest parts. At the School of Science, we have around 2,000 students in total, being taught by more than 400 faculty members. Our School of Science is well known for its distinguished alumni, including some Nobel Prize laureates that you might know about. Just this year too, as you might have seen in the news, one of our graduates, Professor Shukuro Manabe, was selected as a Nobel Prize winner for his contribution in the physical modeling of Earth's climate, quantifying variability and reliably predicting global warming. At the Undergraduate Faculty of Science, we have the departments of Mathematics, Information Science, Physics, Astronomy, Earth and Planetary Physics, Earth and Planetary Environmental Science, Chemistry, Biophysics and Biochemistry, Bioinformatics and Systems Biology, and Biological Sciences. At the postgraduate level, students can come to the Graduate School of Science to study Physics, Astronomy, Earth and Planetary Science, Chemistry, or Biological Sciences. It's not that the University of Tokyo does not teach math and information science at the graduate level, we do, but it's just that these disciplines are covered in different graduate schools. Our undergraduate Faculty of Science has a unique transfer program called the Global Science Course. The GSC is a program where students who have completed their first 2 years of bachelor's degree studies in a university outside Japan can transfer into our undergraduate program and join our students in an integrated environment where all lectures and lab sessions are given in English. After 2 more years with us, they obtain a bachelor's degree from the University of Tokyo. Currently, intake is only possible at our Department of Chemistry, although our chemistry department is very interdisciplinary, so you may find various overlaps with other departments. All selected GSC students will be given a scholarship of 150,000 Japanese yen per month, which is about 100,000 India rupees, in addition to housing provided by the university. This can comfortably cover both the tuition and the living expenses in Tokyo. For those wishing to join us for a shorter period of time, while pursuing a bachelor's degree at a university outside of Japan, the School of Science has a 6-week internship program called U-Trip, which is usually held during the summer. This program offers research experience in our 5 graduate level departments and combines intensive studies in the lab with cultural and social activities such as wearing the Japanese yukata and a 1-day trip to a nearby historical site. U-Trip provides both free housing and an allowance to cover your round-trip airfare and some living expenses. If you're coming from a university in India or anywhere in Asia actually, then the allowance is 140,000 Japanese yen, which is about 90,000 India rupees. When you come from other areas in the world, your allowance may vary. You don't need to have any partnership agreement with the university to attend this U-Trip program. Unfortunately, for the past 2 years, we have not been able to hold the U-Trip program due to the global spread of COVID. So we now have a new program called the U-Trip Online, where we hold several internship periods over the year with research and discussion being conducted entirely online. Our participating laboratories offer not only theoretical, but also experimental research fields and provide the interns with hands-on experience in cutting-edge research from the comfort of their own homes. Typically, some of the research activities take place in real time, while some of the materials can be studied in the participants' own time, although the exact details depend on the lab. Again, the departments participating in this program are physics, astronomy, earth and planetary science, chemistry, and biological sciences, although depending on the season, some departments may not be represented. Just to give you a little taste of what an online research internship looks like, please allow me to play a short video clip summarizing a previous round of U-Trip Online, held by one of our chemistry laboratories. Let's see. I'll turn my video off so that it doesn't interfere. Where do I do that? So I think, there we go.
In April 2021, the Okoshi Laboratory began the U-Trip Online program with great success. Here is the schedule of this 4-week-long pilot program. We had an enjoyable time with 3 excellent U-Trip students from Australia, Germany, and the United States. In this summary video, we will highlight several moments during these 4 weeks.
So my name is Margarita Okrimenko, or just Margot, and I study chemistry in Aachen, Germany. I am in my 2nd year.
My name is Crystal. I'm studying a double degree in Japanese and chemistry at La Trobe University in Australia.
Nadana Soe. I am studying chemistry. I'm in my 4th year, and I'm from the United States.
In the first week of lectures, the U-Trip students studied the cutting-edge research topics in the Okoshi Laboratory, including cyanide-bridge metal complexes, iron oxides, and titanium oxides.
I'm wondering with immunotherapy, because I haven't done much of it at all really before. Like, what are you looking for, and why do it at all really?
XRD measurements, there was something that was saying that a lower R would be like preferable, but what exactly is R?
Can yours also, like if you want to, can you measure the liquid samples in it or not?
So for the organic ligands, we propose 4-hydroxypyridine or 3-hydroxypyridine. For lanthanide ions, we propose neodymium or europium-3. About the crystal shape. At the same time, we need data from the simulation and click OK. Now you see that they are plotted together.
There is a slight shift in wavelength due to crystal field of light. What's that?
Room temperature, you can also see the absorption, but it just isn't as clear as low temperature.
In here is this little peak which arises, which is more prominent at room temperature.
If you have any idea of some synthesis conditions, you can try to change.
Yeah, so I think, and this goes back to some of the earlier videos we watched in the internship, changing how we combine the two solutions. So it could be either like adding it dropwise or adding it like faster. That could possibly change.
Thank you very much, and for your wonderful presentation. All of the experiments were done the remote, but I think and you feel that experiment is us. So, and from now, I would like to the awarding ceremony, and from your certificate, and has successfully completed the University of Tokyo Research Internship Program online 2021. Masahiro Hoshino, Dean of School of Science. Congratulations. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, thank you so much. I honestly had a really good time throughout this internship, and everyone has been so helpful.
Thank you very much for all the efforts, and also it's great that you provide us the opportunity to gain this international experience, even despite the corona and even despite the situation. It's very interesting.
And thank you especially, Jessica and John, for your patience and the amount of time you spent in this program over the last 4 weeks for us. We've definitely learned a lot from you both. It's really been an invaluable experience.
Camera, please see your camera.
Okay, so I will count. So 3, 2, 1.
Okay, that was just an example from the Okoshi laboratory. Between April and November of this year, we have been holding 6 internship sessions attended by 17 interns from around the world, including many students from India, some from other Asian countries such as China, Vietnam, and Malaysia, and other from Europe, the United States, and Australia. We don't have an exact schedule decided yet for the next round, but we are hoping to soon be able to announce a new application period for those of you wishing to attend UTRIP online in the spring of 2022. For those of you who wish to, oh, sorry, I went back, whereas I should go forward. Did I go back? Let me see. Okay. For those of you interested in pursuing postgraduate studies in Japan, we have the Global Science Graduate Course. The GSGC is for those of you wishing to complete both your master's and PhD degrees at our graduate school. All of our 5 graduate departments participate in this program, and all GSGC students are given a scholarship of 180,000 Japanese yen per month, or around 120,000 Indian rupees. to cover their living expenses in Japan. GSGC has some special academic features too, such as the secondary supervisor system. Outside the GSGC scheme, you can also join the Graduate School of Science from the PhD level after completing your master's elsewhere, or join us just for the master's. Whether you're applying for the GSGC program or coming as a regular student from overseas, you can always apply for admission through our online admission system by submitting your GRE and TOEFL test scores along with all other application materials. There's no need to come to Japan or take an exam in Japan. Japanese language proficiency is not required, as all lectures and research can be conducted in English at our graduate school. As for scholarships, to give you some examples, you can apply for the MEC scholarship. This is something that the Osaka University talked about too. The MEC scholarship is available through admission through your local Japanese embassy or through us, the university. The University of Tokyo Fellowship is also an option if you are joining our graduate school as a PhD student. Okay, that's it for my presentation. I would like to now answer some questions that you might have had. Have we received some questions in the Q&A chat room? If you have anything else to ask, please feel free to ask them in the Q&A box. Sorry, thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Sakuta, for the very informative presentation. Most of the questions have been answered by the representatives of the university, but I think there are 2 to 3 questions, so I would like to ask them. Is there any internship program for undergraduate students in the fields of information technology or data science, similar to the UTRIP program?
Okay, the UTRIP program at the School of Science at the University of Tokyo is for the 5 graduate programs that we have, which are physics, astronomy, earth and planetary science, chemistry, and biological sciences. Although you might look at the actual lab topics because some areas may overlap with other disciplines in some ways. Also, at the University of Tokyo as a whole, there are other short-term internship programs other than UTRIP too. So those are given by other branches of the university who are not here today. So if you would like to look at other options at the University of Tokyo offered by other graduate schools, please go to the University of Tokyo website and navigate through to short-term programs. The UTokyo website has a list of short-term programs that are offered in various disciplines at the University of Tokyo.
Is GRE mandatory for applying to graduate programs at University of Tokyo?
Not the whole university. Each graduate school has its own admission application rules. At the School of Science at the University of Tokyo, yes, we do need GRE scores, but it depends on which department you want to join, which exact GRE test you have to take. As you might know, there is the GRE general test, and there are several GRE subject tests. Now, each department at the Graduate School of Science at the University of Tokyo has different rules for which GRE test to take before applying.
Are permanent residents of Japan eligible to apply for the undergraduate or graduate programs?
Okay, for GSC and also for the Graduate School of Science admission, you can be a resident in Japan. Actually, neither of these programs even say you necessarily have to be a non-Japanese national. Where we decide whether you are eligible or not is depending on where you have been educated in your life. So if you have spent, let me make sure that I'm not, each program has its own rules about having been educated in a university and high school outside of Japan, etc. So please look at our admission guidelines for each program that you are interested in.
Could you elaborate a little on the admission process or the procedure for applying to the master's and doctoral 5-year program?
The master's and doctoral 5-year program, probably that's GSGC.
Yes.
The question is about how to apply.
The admission process.
Right, so the admission is entirely online. So if you go to the GSGC website that I put a URL in the chat box, you can click through to the admission guidelines. And when it's time for the admission period, the online application system will start opening. It will open for your access. So you can submit all of your documents online through that online system. Before applying to any of our graduate school programs, you have to talk to a professor at our School of Science and obtain their permission. So you have to talk to them, discuss your interests, and ask for somebody who would agree to be your supervisor. So, and then you apply through our online system, and your documents will be judged, and that's how we make the selection. So you don't need to actually come to Japan to sit an exam, as is the normal way many graduate schools work.
Okay. Are SAT, is it mandatory to submit SAT scores or ACT scores?
No, SAT is not required for the GSC course, no.
Okay. Is there any cutoff for the IB score?
IB?
IB.
International Baccalaureate?
Yes.
We don't look at international baccalaureate scores per se. And also for GRE too, there is, or GPA, those, we do not have a fixed cutoff scores that we announce to the applicants.
All right. I'll pick up 2 more questions. Are there any internship programs for graduate students?
Good question. There is no actual program, but we have many interns at the graduate level because some students either bringing their own funding or, you know, finding a scholarship from an outside source. Some graduate students wish to do an internship or wish to do some research at a university outside of their own country. And we do welcome many students from India and many other countries around the world at the graduate level too. There is just no program such as U-Trip. At least for now, we don't have one.
Also, what are the requirements to get a scholarship?
Requirements, that depends on the scholarship that you're talking about. So for example, if you would like to apply for the next scholarship through university recommendation at the Graduate School of Science at the University of Tokyo, if you go to the URL that I just entered in the chat box at the beginning of my session, there's the School of Science website. And if you click through prospective students, I think, you can find our scholarship webpage. There you will find the next scholarship university recommendation guidelines. So that's the next guidelines. University of Tokyo Fellowship has its own requirements, which are different from next. As a very general rule, we had a question about residents of Japan. You can be a resident of Japan already. That doesn't necessarily per se interfere with your admission application eligibility, but many scholarships provided for international students in Japan, as a general rule, tend to require that the student has student visa in Japan. So if you are looking for scholarships, at least after you successfully apply and get admitted into the university, you might consider switching to a student visa. Although the actual guidelines and eligibility criteria depends on the scholarship in question.
Okay. One last question. Does the GSC program accept students who have just graduated high school?
Unfortunately, no. This is a transfer program. So if it's for students who have already or who will be spending the first 2 years of studies in a university that is not in Japan. So if you would like to consider coming to Japan, because if you wanted to come directly to the University of Tokyo and study chemistry, you would have to speak Japanese. So if you would like to join us for the GSC program and study chemistry at the University of Tokyo in English, you would have to start somewhere else and do your first 2 years in a university that's not in Japan.
Thank you so much for answering the questions. There's still many questions in the Q&A portal, so you could continue answering them when other universities are presenting.
Yes, I'll continue to answer them in the chat or the Q&A box. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I'll reshare the agenda slide. So our final presentation for today is from Japan Sciences and Technology, JST. So JST is an integrated organization of science and technology. It plays a crucial role in the development, advancement, and commercialization of new technologies in Japan. The organization funds numerous research projects nationally and internationally, and it also promotes international joint research to stimulate progress in this realm. So now I'd like to request Mr. Nishikawa to give us an insight into the university. Mr. Nishikawa, can you hear me? For the time being, I request students to post their questions in the Q&A portal. And the representatives of each university will answer them. And also, I would like to remind students that the applications for most of the universities in Japan start in October or November. So I recommend you to check the application guidelines of the program you're interested. And you can also contact the professors for graduate and doctoral programs on their respective websites. And if you have any questions, you can contact the professor or the admissions office. They will definitely guide you. And you can also check the past recordings of the webinars on the U Tokyo India office site, and the link will be shared later. And if you have any questions, feel free to post them in the Q&A portal, and we'll make sure to answer them as soon as possible. Thank you so much. Thank you for waiting, and we will be joined by Mr. Nishikawa shortly.
Okay, all right. Good afternoon and good evening, everybody. My name is Nishikawa of Japan Science and Technology Agency. I'll put up my slides. Can I see my slides now?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Today, I'm going to talk about a program, invitation program called Sakura Science Program. Japan Science and Technology Agency comes right under the Ministry of Education and Science and Technology, Japan. And our main field of work is promoting science and technology, and also human resource development in the field of science and technology. And then this is the India office, New Delhi office of JST. We started this office together with the University of Tokyo, the same place in New Delhi, South Delhi, very close to Deer Park. And IIT Delhi and JNU, DST, they are also very, very close. And then I run a joint research project with many countries, also in Japan and with some other countries. And also, for example, with India, also we're running these types of programs, many programs together. For example, this combination of University of Tokyo and IIT Bombay and so on. And some other programs are also currently running. And then, yeah, I skip these programs. And then come to Sakura Science program. So I'm sure those people who joined today are interested. You are interested in coming to Japan to see what it looks like. So we provide a short-term introductory invitation program. This is Sakura Science program. Short-term means maximum 3 weeks, from 1 week to maximum 3 weeks. So, and in the past, we invited from 41 countries, but starting this year, April this year, we decided to expand this target countries, eligible countries, to all countries and regions on Earth. That means all countries can participate. And also, it used to be only the natural science and also engineering and field. But now, starting this year, this program will also cover the people in the field of humanities and social sciences. So many people can come to Japan by this program. And then main portion of this program is open application program or call for proposal type. That means first we need a host or receiving organizations in Japan. Who will be the host organization? High schools, universities, research institutes, private companies, NGO, NPOs, and other registered organizations. They can become the host organizations in Japan. And then this is a process, how to apply. A receiving organization, host organizations in Japan will submit proposal to JST in combination, in cooperation with the sending organizations outside Japan. And then evaluation process is there and also awarded. If it is awarded, then implementation will start. That means invitation program will be started within the same fiscal year. So there is a certain eligibility or restrictions. In case of age, this program is aimed for rather younger generations. So basically 15 years and above, and then 40 years and below. Those people are within this range. Yes, but the lower side, it is high school. We call it the high school students can be invited by this program. And by high school means, for example, in India, is class 10, 11, and 12, 3 years. If you belong to those 3 years, then you are eligible. And then, of course, you have to speak English, but no problem. And then one important condition is that those who have not stayed in Japan are eligible. So if you already stayed in Japan for a substantial amount of time and for study and so on, then you are not eligible, because this program is basically for the first time comer. And then, but of course, tourists visiting by as tourism is okay. So this is just example of this program done by University of Tokyo, for example. University of Tokyo invited 10 computer science students from India, from IIT Delhi, Hyderabad, Kharagpur, and so on. So they had over 2 weeks program, and they had various experience in Japan. And this is an example of Hiroshima University, also 15 students. They invited 15 students from IIT Delhi, Madras, BITS Pilani, and so on. And then these universities, ranking of the universities in terms of the number of invitees. Top number 1 is Miyazaki University. They already invited over 750 people from outside Japan. Then Okayama University, Osaka University, yeah, Tokyo Metropolitan, and also University of Tokyo is number 7. They already invited over 550 people from outside. So almost all the top universities in Japan already applied for this and awarded. So you can tie up with those universities in Japan. And this is a number in terms of the total invitees. This program, Sakura Science program, started in the year 2014, and up to 2019, during this 6 years, we already 33,000, over 33,000 people were invited to Japan, and from India alone, over 2,800 people visited Japan by this program. And you see, this is number of this. You can see what this is. This is a list of foreign students studying in Japan. So number one, this is written in Japanese. Number one students is from China, 121,000, and then for example, India, a very small number, only 1,600 people studying in Japan. So considering the total population of students in India, maybe Japan can invite more and more from your country. And Sakura Science Club, this is alumni association. Whoever come to Japan, visit Japan by this program will automatically become a member of Sakura Science Club. And this is the first alumni meeting. India alumni, Sakura Science alumni meeting was held in 2018. And this is a ambassador's official residence. And he's ambassador at that time. And also our chief guest was the Professor Vijay Raghavan. He's the principal scientific officer to the government in India. So I'm sure you know this. And that time we selected the main coordinator of the Alumni Association, or maybe president of the Alumni Association, Dr. Jitendra Chu. He's assistant professor of ISA Pune. He is still this main coordinator of this program. And there are about 10 other coordinators, sub-coordinators, they are still there. And this is second alumni meeting in India. This is 2020, February, just before the COVID-19 pandemic started. So we were lucky enough to hold this in, this is at the IIT Delhi campus, we had this meeting. And then this year, we could not have this physically have this. So we had it online, virtual Sakura Science alumni for India. So we had this in May this year. And the prominent Indian scientists, two persons, one is from Keio University, and one is from Shibawara Institute of Technology. They were also the main speakers for this program. This is a photo. He's the center top, he's a main coordinator, Dr. Jitendra Chu, and this is ambassador, and Mr. Miyauchi-san from University of Tokyo, also he participated. This is the one alumni meeting in the Sri Lanka. We have actually already hold this kind of alumni meeting in Vietnam, Malaysia, and also Singapore and Indonesia and Vietnam, and also in China. So we are trying to expand this kind of alumni activities, and also we had an alumni association in Japan, within Japan. So whoever visited Japan by this program and came back to Japan again for higher education, higher studies, then they'll join this Japan Sakura Science Club Alumni Association. And then we skip this. So most important thing, if for the listeners today, for the audience today, if you're a student in a university or in a high school in your country, you have to, your school or your university must find a partner organization in Japan, which will become the receiving organization. So your school or your university will become the sending organization. So you have to tie up with at least one Japanese university or high school as a receiving organization. So this is most important. So if you are a student, you speak to your teacher or principal or your professor at your university, and then persuade them to tie up with Japanese hosting organizations, then apply for this program and then come to Japan. So for the last 1 year, we could not invite anybody due to pandemic, but this, I'm sure starting next year, we can actually also invite some people. And also today, I'd like to introduce some program. This is which we are doing now. This is the online university visit program is also there. And then, sorry. So coming, we have already this. You can just find JST, Japan Science and Technology Agency online university visit programs. You can find all the record of these programs. And then the next program coming soon is on November 20. Ochanomizu University is we are going to bring you to Ochanomizu University. And also in the past, already, I think a couple of, no, some universities, we have already arranged such meetings. So just Google these names and so on. Then you'll find this is also a very useful program for you. Just like today's event, you know, you can introduce one university for fairly long time. So you can really get to know the top universities in Japan by this program. So anyway, I hope you are going to visit Japan by our Sakura Science program and join the Sakura Science Club. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Nishikawa, for the detailed presentation. There are a couple of questions in the Q&A portal. So
yes.
Could I take up a few questions?
Yes, please.
How can we apply for Ssp program? Are there any requirements as such?
Just as I explained, you know, first you have to, if you're a student, you have to speak to your professor or your principal or your teacher. And then your school or your university must find a partner in Japan. That is very, very essential. And then persuade them to accept you or your students to Japan. So because this program is an invitation support program. JST will financially support the receiving organization to invite people from outside Japan. So, and also this program will cover almost 100% of the expenses. That means round trip airfare, all the transportation in Japan, and also food and accommodations, and they are also covered by this. And also insurance, travel insurance is also covered by this program. So you can come to Japan almost free of charge. So, but please find the right partner school or university in Japan. That is most important. Okay.
Do you think if students participate in this program, will it increase their chances to get into a university in Japan or get a job in Japan?
Yeah, of course, it depends on each individual, but whoever come to Japan and then visit Japanese university or Japanese schools, high schools, or Japanese companies, then you get better understanding. And also you can speak with the people directly in Japan. So then you have definitely you have a bigger chance and so on. And also then you can also get more idea about the scholarship and also life in Japan. So I do strongly suggest that you come to Japan by this program. Yeah.
Is TOEFL or IELTS mandatory to participate in this program?
What is mandatory?
Are we supposed? Is the student supposed to submit English proficiency scores?
No. Especially for the student for India, I'm sure most of the students can speak English. So it is and also if you're a teacher, if your teacher says he's good enough, then it's all right.
Thank you so much for answering the questions. I will reshare the agenda slide. Thank you so much for answering the questions.
Okay, thank you.
So this marks the end of our webinar. Thank you to all the panelists and attendees for participating in today's webinar. The recordings of the webinars conducted earlier are uploaded to the University of Tokyo India office site. The link is also shared in the chat box. You could register by scanning the QR code on this page as well. Also, please feel free to contact the universities personally for additional information. Once again, thank you for attending the webinar, and we hope to see you in the coming webinars.